In the latest instalment of our occasional series Ultimate Access, we go behind the scenes at historic Oakmont, host of the 116th US Open. Oakmont Country Club has held more combined USGA and PGA championships than any other course in America and is widely regarded as the toughest the country has to offer, with 210 deep and challenging bunkers. Pennsylvania was well and truly placed on the golfing map when industrialist Henry Fownes developed the course over a century ago. Doctors had told him he'd die within just 2 years following a welding injury, but happily he went on to live for a further 35 years, creating and enjoying this iconic major venue.
Well, Mr. Fownes, at the turn of the century, 1903, wanted to get into golf. I can't imagine that he did what he did and create a golf course that's so world famous and still today, still relevant today. He was a steel magnate. He sold his company to Andrew Carnegie at the turn of the century and wanted to take up golf, which was new to America at that time, and he built a masterpiece.
He loved link-style golf. He thought that was the purest form of golf. And he traveled extensively across the pond. And this has not been substantiated, but from what I've heard, he actually had a golf course in mind and was looking for a piece of land to put that golf course. Instead of finding a piece of land and letting it dictate what he was going to do, he actually had a really good idea of what he wanted to accomplish. Setting up the course, for instance, if somebody came into the clubhouse and shot a pretty decent score, he would follow that person around, see where they were hitting it, and start making the course a little harder for that person by putting in more bunkers or growing the grass, something you don't see it these days anymore.
Fownes developed a very open, spacious course, but due to demands from onlookers, thousands of trees were planted in the mid-60s. However, by 1992, the links feel of Oakmont had diminished due to overgrowth, so a 14-year tree removal program was launched.
Trees were interfering with bunkers, trees were interfering with the greens, so, we had to, it's like your home, you get overgrown. I mean, it was getting overgrown. So as we thinned it out, it just became so evident that it was so much more beautiful without the trees. It was evident to everybody, frankly.
To meet the modern demands of everyday life, a major road, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, was built in the late 1930s, separating holes 2 to 8 from the rest of the course. The 8th is the longest par 3 in US Open history. Its green was moved to make way for the Turnpike and famously played 300 yards in 2007. It could match that distance again in 2016.
Back in the mid-30s, maybe 35, 36, after the 35 Open, the Turnpike wanted to come in, and the railroad was always there. So the railroad was closer to that side of the golf course. So they actually flipped the railroad. And we had to move one green, which was number 8, moved at about 35 yards. And so that was done by Mr. Fownes. So at least the original architect still had control of the golf course at that time for the biggest change that really since the beginning.
The 2016 US Open is the 9th staging at Oakmont, a course which has also hosted 3 PGA Championships, 5 US Amateurs and 2 US Women's Opens. It's a venue steeped in championship history.
This golf course has a knack of producing great champions and great drama. So I think we look at this and say there's just something about Oakmont. It not only tests shot-making ability in all parts of it, but it also really tests the mental side of the game. You've got to think through, you just can't hit shots here. You've got to execute, think about how you're going to play to certain spots and what's going to happen when the ball lands. And these putting greens here are legendary. I've never seen a set of greens faster. It just brings out great shot making, great thinking, and it's done it for a long time. So I think as long as we continue to get the invitation to come here, we'll keep coming.
So the stage is set. Tens of thousands of spectators will travel to Pennsylvania for the 116th US Open.
USGA is very, very organized. They know what they're doing. They sent a championship manager here 3 years ago. He finished at Marion and came here, and we started working on this. It's amazing to be a small part of the history of Oakmont Country Club, where it ranks in the history of USGA tournaments, and anything I can do or my team can do to help perpetuate that is that's really our mission.
This stunning course that Henry Fownes designed to test himself has turned out to be one of the world's greatest and one of the world's toughest.
I think that's the greatest testament to his design, that even with all the changes in the ball technology and the club technology, shafts, etc., it still drives these guys crazy.
It just keeps getting better. It's kept up with the times, and it really, for us, is I can't think of another golf course on a day-to-day basis that's a more rigorous test than Oakmont Country Club. It really tests every aspect of your game.